Well, things weren't all that swift on the Sunday Extra beat this week. The Twin Cities seem to have taken a collective snooze on the world's back porch, and we just couldn't come up with much of anything locally, anything that might have raised your eyebrows at least. But in every cloud there is a silver lining. The lack of local excitement forced us to look elsewhere, to look beyond our small little town to the world out there, to where things are happening. So hot from the bin of rejected television news clips comes this steamer from Tecate, Texas, where looking and living like cowboys has gone yet one more step. It's called the Runnin' of the Bulls, a natural alternative to the mechanical bulls found in trendy saloons for city dudes. Everything's the same. You put on your Stetson and your spurs and get drunk. But instead of hopping on a machine, you incense the live critters with Slim Whitman songs, and they come running after you. Well, the Bulls have their own name for this one. They call it Gringo Chasing.
Tonight is the night I have lived for.
And who says the South lives in the past? Recent sightings of Mediterranean fruit flies in Florida have caused Dixie's finest to take strong measures to rid the South of that foreign pest. Here, just outside of Bartow, Florida, volunteers are not experimenting with sissy chemical insecticides. Oh, no. They're going after the winged critters with the kind of American muscle that worked in the big one. Meanwhile, Atlanta's Jethro Carter, no relation to Billy, unveiled the Elvis, a homemade rocket he plans to shoot into Florida or California, whichever way the thing goes. The rocket has a payload of some deadly secret substance Carter claims will kill the medfly. Carter is dead serious.
I've got a lot more rocket here than he had, a lot more power.
Carter was referring to Marlon Perkins, who wants to rescue the medfly. Meanwhile, medflies are not a Minnesota problem, but giant African snails are. They've been spotted crawling out of Lake Mille Lacs by weekend muskie fishermen. Scientists in Onamia believe the snails may be a road hazard. Governor Al Quie was tongue-tied when he heard about it. The UN didn't comment either. And finally, from the bin of discarded television news clips comes this good news from Japan. It's vacation time in Tokyo, and folks are getting away from it all, flocking to the beaches by the hundreds of thousands, crowding the pools. Getting away from it all? Ah, the inscrutable East. Apparently, there isn't too much concern about personal space in Japan. Not when they get only about a week of vacation every year. That's why the Japanese pack as much action into their business junkets as possible. That's what Sunday Extra discovered when it caught up with a group of touring Japanese businessmen a few days ago. When they came to the Twin Cities last week, armed with Minoltas, Canons, and Nikons, well, they didn't care much about the glories of the IDS Center, Minnehaha Falls, or Summit Avenue mansions. No, these gray-suited, no-nonsense executives from a nation of workaholics on a U.S. tour sponsored by an organization called Distribution Economics Institute came to see Byerly's, the Taj Mahal of supermarkets in cosmopolitan St. Louis Park.
This is a small chocolate company that we bought about 2.5 years ago, and they process hand-dipped chocolates and things of that.
Now, don't laugh. Owner Don Byerly's flagship has 92,000 square feet, 3 times the average supermarket. And it's decked out with a chocolate shop, culinary school, restaurant, delicatessen, bakery, live trout, and a boutique where you can spend up to 25,000 smackers for a porcelain figurine. We're not talking neighborhood co-op or 7-Eleven, and neither was Byerly and his Japanese guests. They spent about an hour and a half in the store gawking, talking, and, well, doing what the Japanese traveler is most noted for. Between camera takes, the Japanese observed, by example of Byerly's and other stores, American methods of grocery distribution and marketing. Over the centuries, the Japanese diet has changed very little, but things are changing now. People on the island nation are discovering the delights of hamburgers, pizza, and chocolate chip cookies. So the Japanese food industry is learning from its American counterpart how to be more responsive to changes in their customers' tastes.
One of the most popular courses is in microwave cooking. It's a cake made into the form of a hamburger or cheeseburger, and that one's made into the form of a hot dog. Made out of marzipan. But I think part of the cost of buffalo is that it's not processed in mass production. It's processed sort of one head at a time.
Now, it's no trade secret that the Japanese have outdone Americans when it comes to transistor radios, small cars, monster movies, and taking snapshots. But there's one thing they'll never top us in: the delicate art of eating ice cream. They'll always be just as sloppy as we are. I can't imagine a non-melt butter brickle. Then again, I didn't predict pocket-sized TV sets either, or Japanese tourists in St. Louis Park. Well, that's the big time of the food industry. When Sunday Extra returns, the small time. City Slickers try some city. You saw what may be the biggest supermarket in the country. Well, now a story about some people who wouldn't be caught dead buying their produce in a place like that. They're city farmers trying to eke out an existence on abandoned city lots. And along the way, do it better than corporate farmers and the corporate markets.
We were thinking about making a real-life compost bin somewhere. What we wanted to talk to you about it. I saw one that was 9 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet high, and it was 3 bins. And they've got it down to a science now.
On this day, members of the Fremont Avenue Back 40 are discussing new directions for their little plot of land. A new system of composting to increase next year's harvest of peppers, corn, cucumbers, squash, beets, beans, and a dozen other crops. But don't let the name fool you. The Back 40 is by no means 40 acres, but a half an acre, surrounded by brick buildings right in the middle of a crowded South Minneapolis neighborhood. 2 years ago, it was an abandoned lot full of broken brick and sand, but the people who now call themselves the Fremont Back 40 felt the city should have more to offer than big city supermarkets. Bill Zychek, the best bean grower in the bunch, was one of the founders.
Well, it's gotten down to the point where people think food comes from the grocery store, and in fact it's grown. And I think most people have lost touch with that. And so for me, it's important to just have a sense of knowledge and a feeling toward the food I eat. And by no means am I supplying all the food I eat by doing this. But on the other hand, I am keeping in touch with what it takes to grow food and what it takes to keep me alive.
The folks who farm this Back 40, so named because it's made up of 40 15 by 15 plots, are just a bit suspicious of the food they get at the supermarket, and so absolutely no chemicals, pesticides or herbicides are used here. It's an effort to get back to nature, back to the earth, and for some like Richard Zychek, it's a spiritual process.
Well, it brings me more in contact with the earth, and I think nature, there's not enough of that opportunity in the cities particularly. So this is my chance to come into contact with that nature spirit. When I come outdoors, I have someplace to go, and that's now the garden. And it's almost as if these vegetables are kind of a bonus. So when I'm planting in the springtime, it's a very nice thing indeed, and if anything comes of it, well, that's all the better.
While the Back 40 is being farmed this week, there's a lot of talk about the Mediterranean fruit fly that is threatening California crops, and a lot of speculation about what would happen if those crops went bad. You see, Minnesota gets 60% of its food from California, And Danny Johnson, who calls himself a survivalist, is not one to take chances.
If there's any sort of natural or man-made calamity that comes around, I'll have some food. And it isn't just those, and then like I say, the California thing with the medfly, when I hear things like 80 to 90% of the vegetables and fruits come from there, there's going to be a shortage. I like to, a temporary shortage, I'd like to have enough to tide me over.
The Back 40 gives city folks without a yard a place to grow, but it's more than just a piece of land, it's a land reform movement. Manager Romy Slowiak says the current system of agriculture in this country is all wrong.
Well, when you spend $1 for food, 60% of that dollar goes into energy in some form. When you directly produce your food, you're saving yourself at least 2/3 of the cost right there. So I think there's something to do with the system that we're involved in now that perhaps bears some scrutiny.
So the Back 40 plants its seeds of a revolution, but a very quiet and laid-back revolution.
You can come out to a plot like this and ignore a lot of the noise in the city and a lot of the hustle and bustle, and it can be quite relaxing.
The soapbox is usually set up well within the Twin City limits, a safe distance from the drone of suburban lawnmowers and weed eaters. But this week we headed into the Golden West, a Ridgedale shopping center, and found out that folks in the suburbs have more on their minds than designer jeans.
I'm mad with designer products. At school nowadays, you're expected to have designer jeans or you're not cool, and designer shoes or you're not cool, and I'm mad.
I'd like to talk for a moment about the result orientation in our society. In fact, we're all a process of result orientation. We want to see end results, but we don't want to learn the process. So very often we don't even try to get to the end result because we don't understand the process. For instance, most of us in our daily life will complain and complain and complain and complain about our system, about the education system, about the government, about everything, but we don't even understand the process of how to change that. For instance, right now, this is a process of how to change something, to give your views, to talk about it, to get other people thinking, to affect a person's mind in a way that they want to speak out about it. But yet, we don't tend to do that as a society because we are result-oriented. We want someone else to do the process for us.
I'm a very happy person because my dad teaches me to believe in positive mental attitude. And I believe that more people in this world will be happier if they believe in positive mental attitude.
Okay, I'm very disappointed in the fact that the teachers want to go on strike when they don't even teach our kids how to read and write. And they have the shortest work day ever and the shortest work year. I think if they want more money, they should start to earn it by teaching our kids better on how to read and write and how to add and subtract and get back down to basics of education.
I'd just like to say something about that last comment. Well, I'm a student and I go to one of them schools she was talking about, and I think they do a damn good job because I know how to read and I know how to write, you know, and you know, what else do they need to teach me?
I think it's time that people start taking responsibility for raising their own children. Too many people are part-time parents, and I don't think children can grow up properly with part-time parents.
I really think the abuse of alcohol and chemicals these days is really getting out of hand. And what it's doing to people in their lives and their behavior is really messing a lot of people up. And I'd like them to take a look at themselves and maybe go for a change for the better. Thank you.
I think it's time that the taxpayers in Minnesota look at the massive state deficit that we've run in the last few years, and we have to consider alternative ways of raising money for the state. And I feel that the major way that money can be raised for the state is to legalize gambling in the state of Minnesota.
Howdy. Me and my friend were just sitting up there talking about, or seeing all these people complain about taxes in Minnesota, and we figured, we got an idea. we figured we could have one big car wash and paper recycling thing. It'd be great. Al would like it. We'd have a good time.
Coming up on Sunday Extra, more criticism and praise from the only newspaper critic in town. Witness the debut on Sunday Extra of Twin Cities Television's first ever newspaper criticism offered up by Michael Boyle. Well, he's back again for more. And just who are you going to be hurling a critical brick at this week?
Now, before I throw a brick, Steve, I'd like to throw a bouquet to the Minneapolis Tribune and their staff correspondent, Al McConaughey, for a well-written and prominently featured series on poverty in the Third World. For the past 8 issues, the Trib has featured these reports on the front page, along with Kent Koberstein's excellent photography. By personalizing the complexities of global poverty through affecting individual portraits of the struggles of individual people, McConaughey and Koberstein have brought the issue into one-on-one understandable human terms.
Well, now they know you're a nice guy, but where's the brick?
Ah, yes, the brick. Let's go to the other end of the economic scale for that one. I want to ask you a question, Steve. Have you ever been mentioned in Margaret Morris's Society column in the Tribune?
No. No, I haven't.
Let me ask you, Steve, do you ever expect to be mentioned in that column?
No, I don't.
Exactly, Steve, and you probably never will, unless you do something beyond posting Sunday Extra. You know, it appears to me that the criteria for appearing in the Margaret Morris column has more to do with relative social status than with any obvious achievement. What you do for a living may be less important than who you know and how long you've known them. Now, this sort of column can be found in many American newspapers. It appears that certain members of the community require a space in which to publicize and congratulate themselves for engaging in activities that fit into a predefined social correctness. Why, it's a part of our heritage. Let me illustrate. Let's say that Margaret Morris is aware of 2 fundraisers happening on the same day. One is a Wazata lawn party and barbecue to benefit the Junior League. The other is a Blaine barbecue to benefit the Little League. Now, which one of these worthy causes will get publicized in Margaret Morris's column? I think it's a pretty safe bet that the elite meeting to eat in Wazata will edge out the Blaine barbecue. Now, there are some readers who might complain that a newspaper column devoted almost exclusively to the affairs of the socially elite could be interpreted as snobbish and intended to quietly promote anti-democratic class distinctions. But look at it this way. If Margaret Morris didn't tell us what the privileged class was doing, how else would we find out? By word of mouth? By telephone? By television? Not likely. Huh, Steve?
Oh, I agree with you then. Margaret Morris is definitely performing a valuable service by letting us know what's going on in that heavy lawn bowling scene out there in Wayzata and who's supporting what worthy causes. And there being a link, in other words, between us and the upper crust.
You know, Steve, somehow I don't think this came off the way I expected it would.
Okay. Better luck next time then, Michael. Sunday Extra will be right back with something brand new.
Can I put this on our lawn?
Sure, you bet you can. You bet you can. We hope you put it like by sort of a reflective bird bath.
All right. Okay, I've got one. We can do that.
Really,
I might even set up somewhere down in here so people walk by and say, what in the world is that bird doing on the weatherboard?
Well, I think Sunday Extra, and we mean it. There's just not enough good news about our twin towns on TV. So tonight we begin a new policy of recognizing outstanding individuals and institutions in our community who contribute on a regular basis to the quality of life here. And what better symbol than the pink flamingo, whose appearance in backyards has brightened neighborhoods and communities around the world. The first pink flamingo was awarded to Dayton's department store, a Twin Cities landmark whose customer policies have helped make it one of the most successful retailers in the world. Let's pick up the action. Bert Zumberg of Dayton's Customer Service. We are just proud as heck on Sunday Extra to present you with this Pink Flamingo Award for Dayton's no questions asked return policy for taking all that stuff back from us and believe in excuses like, it must have been broken when I bought it. Congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir, very much.
And to let Daytons know we care as much about them as they care about us, Sunday Extra returned their wonderful offer. If you don't like this award, we'll take it back. No questions asked.
No, I think we'll try it out for a while and see if we like it, and then we'll decide whether
Okay. Thanks a lot, Bert. Appreciate it. Okay, that's it. And our second coveted Pink Flamingo Award this week goes to Northwestern National Bank for its Weather Ball, which has provided the Twin Cities with weather information for more than 30 years and above all has kept it simple. President and Chief Executive Officer Peter Gillette was delighted to receive the award and took the opportunity to recite the simple and easily remembered Weather Ball poem.
When the weather ball is white, colder weather is in sight. When the weather ball is green, no change is foreseen. And when the weather ball is red, stormy weathers are ahead. So, no, that isn't right either.
Warmer weather is ahead.
Warmer weather is ahead, and when the weather ball is blinking bright, stormy weather is in sight.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Congratulations.
Thank you very, very
and we
much.
hope you'll display that in a prominent place in the bank so people will...
Is this a permanent award, or does it have to be turned back in?
No, that is a permanent award. We've gone to great expense to purchase that Pink Flamingo, and we want you to have it.
Very good,
Okay,
Steve.
great.
Thank you much.
Okay, thanks a lot. We'll be giving the pink salute to other deserving Twin Cityans in the weeks to come. And a brief reminder, Sunday Extra is looking for stories on how you've been fired, axed, or pink slipped. We'll put the strangest and the funniest tales on our show. Write about your day of reckoning in a letter and send it to Sunday Extra, Getting Axed, KSTP-TV, 3415 University Avenue, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55414. Well, our Chiron generating machine is broken again. That's the thing that makes all those little names go up across the screen at the end of the show. So I'm going to read them for you. This show was produced and written by Jeff Strait and Steve Sanger. Executive producer Dennis Herzig. Photographer Jeff Ganal. Editors Jeff Ganal, Jeff Mormon, Tim Jones. Commentary by Michael Boyle. Flamingo supplied by Lawnwear Products. On audio, Gordon Hahn. Video, Bob Shoup. Videotape, Steve Geiser. Projection, Ken Kuffler. Master Control, Larry Gagne. Lighting, Dominique Remessier. Cameras, Al Sanders, Diane Carver, and Reggie Flake. Floor directors, Joanne Fisher, Randy Trullinger, Joe Caffrey. Directors, Terry Devine and Dave Hemmergren. That's all for now. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Sunday Extra.